There you go. That's awesome. So first of all, okay, let me start with this.
چنته هر کسی که تو خالی باشد بالاخره معلوم میشه.
Welcome, Erik. Welcome, everyone, to my 19th episode with Erik Johannes, my old friend, my old colleague, and someone I reported to for a couple of years in one of the companies I used to work for. Thanks for joining me, Erik. So, talk about yourself.
Thanks, Hassan. Nice to be here. Appreciate the invite. This should be fun.
Absolutely.
So I'm a chemical engineer originally by education, and really I've spent 30 years working in technology development of different companies, all kind of chemical reactor technologies, primarily green technologies. And through that, I had the opportunity to build and lead a number of teams, including starting my own venture capital backed company. So in the last certainly 5 years, I've been doing kind of the same thing, but more helping companies, helping new startup companies.
And you also mentored a lot of engineers. I remember you back then in 2009 when I was doing my studies in SFU, and then you were part of the group of angel investors, but you came to teach us, like, what does it mean to start a company? What values you guys need to add in order to be successful? And I remember you it's been like almost, 17 years now. That's crazy.
It seems like a long time. And I think at that time that probably kind of got me interested or started doing more on maybe that was the first time I did some consulting or helping companies. I was asked to do that, and I enjoyed it. So now really that's what I do.
But the impact that the type of workshops had for students, for grad students, was so massive. Maybe you guys didn't know that we were like thirsty to know. Like me coming directly from Iran to Canada, I was like really thirsty to see, okay, how things are working here. What does it mean to start a company? And even like we're paying closely to every single word you guys are talking about. And then I say, oh, that's good. That's how I'm going to shape myself. That's how I'm going to do help us to do the self-identification to start our career. Say, oh, this is the path forward. So, and then we met in a company, Swedish company, Damate, before I joined Tesla. And it was a very exciting project that you got to introduce us about project management and what does it mean to be agile. And you force us. I still have the book. I read the book to read every 5 pages.
I have it behind me there.
That's right. So I mean, it's not. So basically, the reason I have a lot of respect for you is that because you always try to mentor engineers around you, and then and I hope people watch this episode, and a lot of Iranian, they recently immigrated to North America, regardless of like what country or what state, they can take away something valuable here.
Okay. And I think my main reason, like what you're talking about, the mentoring part, as you call it, was primarily because I had made a lot of mistakes, or there's a lot of things I had learned along the way, and there was no reason. I thought there's no reason anybody else needs to go through some of the pain I went through, the mistakes. A lot of them is not that complicated, but you don't know what you don't know. So if somebody can explain it to you first, it doesn't get you all the way there, but it helps if you've had the experience of using it before. But it certainly allows you to advance much faster.
Absolutely.
You're really learning from other people's experiences.
Absolutely. But I have to give you the credit for being generous to share your experience, and then you're willing to see a gap somewhere, and you try to fill it. So let's dive into our discussion. Erik. So the fact. So first of all, I really appreciate that. It's very very nice that we had a couple of discussion before this podcast. I noticed that you're a professional, so that's good. So I wanna. So something I personally learned. Taking every matter seriously, even this podcast. That's I recently started. So you gave me a call a couple of times. You reminded me, let's start this podcast 10 minutes earlier to make sure. So I notice everything about you, and I have that's something I it's really needed. You asked me what type of question you think would be valuable, so you get ready for them. And with the 30 years of experience, all this, and I still say, okay, I have to get prepared. That's
Well, yeah, and I think for anybody in your audience, if they're going to take on a new project, no matter what you do in life, whether it's going to the gym, starting, going into a meeting with business people, if your head's not in the right space, if your mindset isn't correct, you're never going to do as well. It doesn't necessarily take very long. It may only take you a minute sitting in your car thinking about working out before you go into the gym, or 5 or 10 minutes making some notes to make sure you know what you want to accomplish in a business meeting. That's all it takes. But if you haven't done that, the chances of getting what you want out of your time and your activity is much smaller. So it's worth it taking a few minutes to mentally think through what you're going to do, what you want to accomplish.
To plan ahead, always plan ahead. That's the whole philosophy behind project management. Let's plan ahead. Okay.
But it's people don't seem to always want to do that. Now, you talked about the company that we worked at together. If I remember correctly, in that every meeting room, there was a list on the wall of this is how you have a good meeting.
Yeah.
And most meetings that did not happen. I was a big believer in that, and I worked hard to always have that, to follow those guidelines, meeting guidelines, and because I know it was going to be better for everybody. But very few people would do that, and part of that was come in prepared, know what you want to achieve by the end of the meeting.
And that was like in terms of managing those projects, there was a complex project. Design happening in Vancouver, production happening in China, and at the same time happening in Hungary, Europe.
Hungary, and there are people in Italy at one of the
Italy and Germany. There was another program manager in Germany, so there was a lot of collaboration going on, and that was very interesting. That was a very tough project to manage.
Yeah. It was really good. Yeah.
It was really good times. Yeah. Erik, I want to start with education, degrees these days. And what does it mean these days? What's the value of having multiple degrees? What's been changed in the based of all these fast technology development? Just talk about it. Yeah.
I guess, there's a couple of things, and there's probably no 100% correct answer. I do think my mind has changed a lot over the last 40 years since I graduated, and it's been 40 years last April. But I think whatever you study, if you go to some post-secondary education, a university, for example, that helps get you in the door. That's going to help you start off. There's a track into certain companies that's going to help you. After that, it's really up to you, because while I spent 4 years studying chemical engineering, what I actually used in my life of working is a very, very small subset of what I learned. And probably everything I did use, I probably could have learned in 1 year. It was, for most people, not all, but most jobs, it's the simplest principles that you end up using, not the most complicated. So I think that's point number one. Point two is it's great knowing all the technical skills, but ultimately it's the non-technical skills, or some people call it the soft skills. You have to be well organized. You have to know how to run a meeting well. You have to know how to come prepared. You have to know how to work well with other people, even if they don't agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all of those skills that ultimately differentiate the people who get ahead and have a lot of opportunities in their career to those who don't. If you can't work with other people, if you can't create win-win situations, people aren't going to want to do business with you. People aren't going to want to work with you. So that is definitely point number two, is that you need to have those non-technical skills are super important. I argue more important. The technical skills get you in the door, but it's the non-technical skills that really get you opportunities in your career. And the third thing I would add is that no matter what you've studied, no matter what you're doing, it's a nonstop learning. You're going to continue to learn for the rest of your career, because, as I said, chemical engineering, 4 years of study, there's only a small portion of that I really went on to use on a continual basis. But I continued to learn the whole time. And some of it was building on the chemical engineering skills that I knew, had learned during those 4 years. But learn. You have to keep learning.
Okay, so I made some note based on what you said. So the degree, but it's kind of indicative that you're disciplined. You woke up 8 a.m., went to school on time, you did something, you are able to get organized, you learn some sort of those softer skills that you talked about. I mean, that's something that, but when you want to hire someone, so you value more on the attitude, right? On the interpersonal skills, as opposed to, so you're going to say, I'm going to train this guy, I'm going to teach him how to do this engineering calculation somehow, but you're going to, but isn't the skills to be acquired, or some people are just good at it? What do you think? It's like by the end?
Yeah, I think some people learn faster than others, but I think skills you need to acquire them. You need to acquire, and the only way you really acquire is by doing. You can read a book and listen to other people tell you what to do, and that's a great start, but ultimately you get good by practicing, by doing it again and again. So whatever the skills are, playing football or being a project manager, negotiating contracts, whatever it is, you have to practice and practice, which means you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes, but that is just data points that tell you how not to do it. So you know better how to do it.
So from your point of view, like what happens when someone, what's the best type of reaction is if a job is assigned to someone and that person creates a horrible result? What do you think that would be the most acceptable professional way to go about it?
Well, first of all, I think most of the time an employee, and I think you're talking about an employee or somebody who, let's say, reports to me. That's what you're talking about, that situation? And they do a terrible job?
Yeah, so basically they did a terrible job, but now...
Okay, so first of all, I recognize that maybe 80% of the time, it's my fault. Because either I didn't give a good instruction, I didn't explain what I wanted done. That is very, very common. So that's number one. Number two, maybe I hired the person or I selected the person who doesn't have the skills or the mindset, doesn't know how to do what I'm asking. So in both of those cases, that's my fault. I have picked the wrong person, and or I've not explained properly what I want. very often that's the reason why somebody doesn't do something well. If they, let's say those things are good, but they still haven't done it well, there's a lot of reasons for that. I think then you have to have a conversation and try to decide, try to figure out why they didn't do it well. But most of the time it's because that's just not who they are. You know, dogs bark, cats meow. You'll never get a dog to meow. You'll never get a cat to bark. And I'll tell you a little story of what I mean by that. There was somebody I worked with at two different companies. First, he was part of my team. I had about 25-person team at a company, and he was very junior, a test engineer at that company. And then later, when I had started my own technology company, one of the people who I hired, who I'd worked with at numerous companies before and led the test engineering, hired this same person. And he was terrible at his job. He was not doing what we needed him to do. We were asking him to very rigorously test these prototypes and record the information and write detailed reports. And he was terrible at that. But what we realized was he was super good at getting a first test done, kind of a really rough test, to give us a feel for things, to give us a feel for the prototype. So he was a cat, and he liked to meow. He wasn't a dog. We were asking him to be a dog and to bark. So what we did was we just basically changed his job. We said, okay, when we have a new prototype, we have some new ideas about a test. Let's get this person, to quickly do a quick setup, because he'll do it quickly. The results, we won't use them in the future, but we'll get a first feel. And once we get that, then we'll hand the further tests to somebody else who will really focus on the details. Right. So it allowed us to move faster. So I think if you find somebody who is smart and who will work hard, because if they don't have those things, that's a big problem. But if you have that, sometimes you just haven't given them the right job, the right type of thing to do.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. But let's just go back a minute, because first you started talking about, you used the word degrees. And I thought you were asking about what degree should somebody get.
Yeah.
I think there's no right or wrong answer to that. But I do think that it's important to get out there and get experience. I think too many people get too much education, and they need to get out and work.
Particularly in our community. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think there are certain kind of jobs. If you want to be a professor, well, then you need to get a PhD. Mm-hmm. It's just how it works. And I think, unfortunately, even today, there's a lot more people who need to get masters. Example, I know that in physiotherapy now, when I went to university, physiotherapy was like engineering. You do a 4-year degree, you go in, it's 4 years, maybe 5, maybe you have to do 1 pre-year and 4 years. But generally it was 4 years, and then you're done. Now they make them do an undergrad and then like a 2-year master's. For me, it's a complete waste of time and money. I think maybe I don't know, maybe the universities are just trying to make more money.
So
I really do not see why that's necessary. So unfortunately, there's, I think, a bit of a trend towards that. But I think people need to think, especially at the cost, it seems to be so much more expensive today. So I think you just need to think hard. I think it probably is better, in my opinion, to spend the time finding the right job, the right company, the right people to work with, the ones that are right for you.
That's so true. But like my dad graduated engineering
Mm-hmm.
1970, and he tells me the story that once after the graduation party, the company's representative from all kind of
Mm-hmm.
companies, they showed up, gave them their business card, please come work with us. So that's the market too. So it's
Yeah.
become so competitive, and probably university says, oh, okay, let's make some money here. I
Yeah.
don't want to use that word, but let's just make it more complicated. So in that market, people come, there are more demand, so people need to get to the
Yeah.
line, as you mentioned. That's
Yeah.
yeah. If you have any comment, I want to talk about my
No,
second
I
topic.
think that's, I think that sums it up quite well. Maybe I'll just say again, it's important to try to think out what situation, what type of company, what type of people will you be best in? And everybody's different. And if you can get into somewhere that suits your personality or the way you like to work, you're going to do better. And it takes time. It's hard to figure that out, and you might not get it right the first time. So I think trying to understand yourself and looking for those types of companies is important.
Yeah. So, Eric, my second topic is that there are a lot of advancement. AI is developing
Mhm.
very, very fast, and a lot of like it's becoming very commonplace these days for
Mhm.
people to be very motivated to start their own startup.
Mhm.
And I want to talk about the startups and what do you think a successful startup is going to look like? Like, what do they need to think about before going through that path? And I read from somewhere and I heard from somebody
Mhm.
that 80% of all these startups going to fail. And then we're going to talk about their failures too. What made
Yeah.
them fail? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it's more than 80%. I suspect it's much more. It's more like 95% probably. It depends on what area you're in, what type of business you're in, but it's pretty high. I think, well, no, I don't think I know. The most important thing is always, are you really solving somebody's problem? Unless you are really solving the pain, somebody has real pain that you can solve, you don't probably have a business. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we have good ideas, you and I, especially engineers. You think you have a really good idea, you think you have something cool you're going to design. That doesn't mean somebody is actually wanting that. We have a saying, oh, it's a solution looking for a problem. So I think the
Yeah.
most important thing is you have to find a group of people. Maybe they're farmers, maybe they're engineering students, maybe they're mothers, whatever they are, some group of people who have a real problem, a problem that they're willing to take their hard earned money and
Mhm.
hand it over to you. And that's how I like to think about it. What's going to make somebody hand me their hard earned money? And usually what that means is that they have a problem. They have something they're not happy with that they need to have fixed, that they want to have fixed. So that's, a pain reliever. It's a pain reliever. There's
Mhm.
some people talk about pain relievers and vitamins. Yeah, people will pay to make their life better, but more people will pay to have their pain taken away. So pain relievers usually are a better way to go than looking for vitamins, selling vitamins. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example is if you're sitting in economy class and you're 6'3" like me and your knees are hurting. My real problem is there's not enough room for me. My knees are on the chair in front of me, and I'll pay to make that pain go away. Now, it'd be really nice to sit in business class and pay more. It'd be nice it'd be very comfortable, but I don't need that. That's a nice vitamin or a luxury. But really, there's no pain to be solved. I just need a little bit more room. Economy plus is going to be good enough.
Yeah.
So I think that's step number one. You need to really be honest with yourself and talk to enough people and really understand their problem, some group of people with a problem. And even if you're selling to companies, you're not really selling to companies. It's not really business to business. You are still selling, providing a product to a person within that company. If I am selling paper, I have a paper manufacturing, and I'm selling to businesses that all need pads of paper, I'm still selling to a person within that company. And it's, what is their problem? Why are they going to buy my paper over somebody else's? How am I going to take away some pain from them? If I will deliver anytime they want, well, maybe that's their problem. Maybe their problem is their present supplier only delivers on Mondays. And if there's a holiday Monday, then they have to wait 2 weeks between deliveries. But I'll deliver any day they want. Maybe that's their problem.
Yeah. So, but let's assume that they're adding value.
Mm-hmm.
They pick the right, like they're filling the right gap,
Right.
and so like everything is in place. But it's still a lot of them will fail because of their
It's what?
mismanagement.
It's still what?
Because a lot of companies fail because of mismanagement, because of they don't know how to like move forward with the company. They are not willing that the risk they need to take. Let's talk about that. So, and then, so because my audiences, they're mostly Iranian American or Iranian Canadian, if you have any example of like us by people, bring them up, Erik. I know you work with many Iranians. You hired a lot of engineers. So
if I think it's something appropriate, sure.
No, even something that's not appropriate. It's okay. It's my podcast. There's no. It's just very honest, transparent kind of podcast. And I think my personal belief is that if you are not transparent, if you don't bring up the topics that you need to bring up, those things will never get solved.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a problem.
There you go. I just want to say.
Yeah. So I think, you need to know what you're delivering. What's your mission? What do you stand for? Is it delivering every day, paper every day of the week? If that's your mission, if that's your value proposition, if that's what makes you valuable to people, you have to keep that in mind. Because what you talked about was mismanagement, and people mismanage things. One way to get around mismanagement is that if everybody in the company, whether it's 5 people or 500 people, if everybody in the company knows that the value that company brings is delivering office supplies every day of the week, any day a customer wants it, that will help guide people. And that will help get rid of a lot of mismanagement, because every day, every hour, every decision, people are asking, is this helping us or hurting us from delivering every day of the week when our customers want it?
Right.
And that gets rid of a lot of, right there, you start to get rid of mismanagement, because everyone's focused on the real mission, the mission of the company.
That's good. So, one of the, like, my personal experience, like one of the problem that a lot of cases that I come across is nepotism, like that you pick somebody from your relative. So what do you think? What have you had any experience about that? So let's talk about that.
I haven't had direct experience, but I have friends who have had direct experience with this. And you talked about Iranian companies, and I have heard of those stories where people bring in family members who aren't qualified. it's one thing to bring in family members who are very qualified, but if you're bringing in family members or friends who don't have the skills to do the job you're giving them, you're not helping anybody. You're not helping your customers. You're not helping other people in your company, because you're just setting yourself up to fail. And ultimately, you're not helping yourself.
Right.
You would be better off to help those people find jobs that make sense for them. So I think that's just one special case of, no matter who you hire, you have to be very clear on what is that person going to do in the company? What is their job description? What are their responsibilities? What decisions are they allowed to make? What decisions are they responsible for? And once you've decided that, how they fit into the company functionally, then you can go out and look for that person and find that person. And and very rarely is it a relative. Very rarely is it a relative or a good friend who's going to be the perfect fit for what you're looking for.
Yeah. And then I think that's something that a lot of companies, they, because of their past experiences, those policies are created because of those experiences. So like, if you want to get hired, particularly in a government job, they keep asking you, do you know anyone here? Do you know, have you been hired? So that's where it's coming from. And it's not just, it looks like it's a very general issue everywhere. So you rather bring someone to support your family members, and then if you create a lot of problem for that person and the company. Sorry, go ahead.
And I think, I think there are cases where what people do is they have a company's doing quite well, so they bring in a family member, immediate family member, and they pay them for doing nothing. And it's a way, I think it's sometimes a way to pay less tax, perhaps.
Right.
And I guess if they're not doing anything illegal, it's their company, it's their money, they can do what they want. Unfortunately, what happens is the rest of the team, if they're working really hard and they see one of their coworkers is getting paid and doesn't have to do anything, or is obviously bad for the job, especially when it makes them have to do more work, well, then those employees, most of the team, they're going to lose respect for the leader of the company, the owner of the company, the manager, whoever. They're gonna feel, oh, I'm working so hard and he's hired somebody who's no good, so now I have to do more work. Nobody's gonna like that. So it creates bad morale within a company.
Absolutely. Erik, do you have any example?
No, I don't. I don't actually have an example. I have heard, like I said, I have heard of people doing this, and that was the result, is that
absolutely
other people in the company they lost respect for
that's extremely important.
Yeah.
That's extremely important. I mean, as you mentioned, like technicality, working hard, you've got to, it's not about being compensated with your salary. There are other aspects to it too. You've got to feel like you're appreciated, you've been recognized, and that's a good one.
Yeah.
So,
and while you're on that, you're 100% correct. Usually salary is fourth or fifth on the list. As long as they're making decent money. Once you're a certain money, people, the most important thing is, one, they're doing something really interesting that they like to do. Second, they're appreciated for what they're working on. They feel if they do a good job, their coworkers and their boss appreciate them. And third, they work with people they enjoy working with, people who are good at their job too, and they get along well. And then you get money. Maybe money is number 4.
That's right. Like for myself, the learning curve is always important. To do something that I don't know, like I have to just like do some, like if you get to the routine and I realize, oh, I need to change. I need to stop
I
something
think you
new.
and I are the same. Yeah, we're the same. We like to work at jobs we're no good at yet. As soon as we get really good at it, then it's boring.
It's boring. That's good. That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't want to get bored at all. So, Erik, I want to start a new topic with you about project management. There are two things I'm really interested for us to discuss about. One is like basically what does it mean for you, a project manager? I remember when we used to work together, you mentioned it's an art, and I liked it. And that's really, to me, it's an art as well. That how you manage everything, the risk, the schedule, all the budget. And then let's talk about this. I'll ask you the second question later.
Okay. Well, I think it all obviously it all starts with, let's say you assume you really know your customer group and their pain, and now you decided we have an idea for a product or a service that we're going to solve their pain. And now our mission is to create that product or service that's going to solve that pain. That's our focus. That's our mission. But in doing that, that's going to take time. So you have to figure out the steps you're going to take along the way. You're not going to do it all overnight. You're probably going to do it in phases or steps or milestones to get to where you want to be, because maybe you have to design a product. You have to manufacture a product. You have to go out and find the customers and sell the product. And as you go through these phases, there's going to be risks involved as well.
Yeah,
you're going to have
my second question. That was my next question. Yeah.
Well, there's going to be risks. So you have to really come up with the strategy of how you will, the steps you're going to take to get to the final finish line. And then for each of those big steps, what are the little tasks? What are the tasks to get to each step? So you'll have milestones or steps or phases. And within each of those milestones or steps or phases, you're going to have a whole bunch of day-to-day tasks that need to be done. And I think when you talk about the art of it, I think where the art really comes in is that there are human beings who are going to be performing all of those tasks. And the problem with human beings is we're never the same every day. Every human's a little bit different. And not only are they different, but they're different this week than they are next week. The laws of physics are always the same. The laws of physics stay constant. No, humans are always changing. So a good project manager is not only making sure everybody knows that mission and everybody knows their responsibilities, their function within the whole project, what tasks they need to do. The project manager is also making sure that everybody's looking out for risks and they've identified risks and find what they can do to minimize the risk.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, once they've got all that set out, they know that unexpected problems will come up. We have looked for risks, but still there'll be problems.
There's still unknown. There's still risk, but unknown risks.
Right.
So they always. So.
And then then you need some juggling. So just like a juggler, there's an art in juggling knives or flaming sticks.
Yeah.
There's an art in juggling activities and people when things change, when things don't go the way you expected them to go. And that's where I think the art comes in. And a lot of it's just based on experience, knowing people, those soft skills, knowing different people, knowing what they're good at, knowing how to handle things, knowing how to keep people calm sometimes.
Oh, I remember tensions sometimes. That tension build up. Yeah. Erik, so there are different industries with different type of project management method. Like, for example, there are agile, mostly for high-tech companies. that I want to mostly talk about it. And there is one more classic way for mostly construction companies. They call it waterfall methodology.
Right.
But like these days, agile is taking more importance because it's faster, it's agile, it takes multiple iterations, and then somehow the requirements is still not firmed up right in the beginning, and just in the probably by the end of project you have the requirements ready as well. So
Right.
like what's your preference, Erik, in
so it has certainly evolved over time, and it's traditionally I started learning the waterfall method, as you called it. You have certain milestones along the way, you plan the whole project out, you staff the project with the right skill sets. Maybe some skills are there for the whole project, some are there for just parts of the project, and you execute against that project. And over the decades, what I saw was always we never got done on time. Now, part of that was because we weren't building a house that we'd built many times before. If you're Ford and you're designing a car and you've done it a lot of times before, it's much simpler. I was always in the new technology development. By definition, it is never going to go as planned. You don't know everything. There's a lot more unknowns. That said, though, there's a lot that I realize you can do differently. And I think when I first looked at Agile was essentially just a little bit before we started to work together. And I used to always think Agile was, that's for software. I think it came out of the software industry.
It came from Silicon Valley.
And I always thought that was for software. That was for software. It didn't apply to the industrial equipment that I had always worked on. Didn't apply. Well, I was wrong. Agile can really apply to anything, from planning a wedding to doing a new burner, a new heating system for recreational vehicles in Europe. It can be applied to anything. So I really changed, but I didn't fully change to Agile. And I'll tell you why, is that Agile assumes that you only plan a little bit in the future. And the problem when you're not buying big pieces of equipment, maybe that's possible. But every person I reported to, who if you told them, well, this is going to be a 2-year project, but I only know what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 weeks, it never goes over very well.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I do think you need to have a vision of how you're going to execute and complete a project. So what I essentially started to do was first, you have to start with the end in mind. You have to know the product requirements really well. Right. You have to really understand the customer's pain and what the solution to their pain is. That doesn't mean it might change. It might even change while you're doing the project, but you have to start with really understanding the pain and what your solution to their customer pain is. Once you've got that, then I like to break the project down into perhaps somewhere between 4 and 8 milestones, 4 and 8 phases. There might be an initial conceptual design phase, followed by a detailed design phase, followed by field testing followed by a manufacturing engineering, and then finally starting production. So you will have phases, and in each of these phases, you're going to have a 1 or 2 big things you're going to accomplish, big deliverables.
Right.
Now, and you want to define all those early, like a waterfall, the traditional waterfall. You're going to have a vision of the road that you're going to go. You're going to have a number of deliverables over the next, let's say it's a 1-year project, maybe a 2-year project, 6-month project, whatever it is. You're going to have a handful of milestones or waypoints or deliverables. Now, where Agile comes in is within those smaller, maybe it's a month, a few weeks, or a month to hit each of those milestones or waypoints. That's where you can use Agile. That is where you can, on a daily basis, decide, okay, what's the most important thing I need to do today?
Yeah.
And work to get that done. And then, okay, now tomorrow, what's the most important thing I need to do? That's where I have found how to put those two together really, really well.
Yeah.
There's another book as well. There's a book called Critical Chain. Do you know it? Do you ever know that book, Critical Chain?
No. Critical Chain?
Do you know the book, The Goal? Yeah, Critical Chain. And did you ever read that book, The Goal? Theory of Constraints?
I'm afraid not.
Okay, so they're both by the same person. The Goal was really quite a big book in the
I'll bring it up here.
In the 80s. It was in the 80s. It was written by an Israeli professor. And he wrote this book about a guy who's a man. It was probably one of the first, fables, business story fables. And it basically tells this story about a guy who is a general manager of an automotive parts factory. And his factory is not making money. And he needs to figure out how to make money in this factory. Otherwise, the corporation is going to shut his factory down. And it's about his learning process.
Is this book, right?
Yeah, that can you just expand it? I just need to, I think that I have a different, my book has a different, yeah, that's the one.
All right.
Yeah, and it says by the author of The Goal, and there's one called The Goal by the same guy.
Okay.
And those are fantastic books to read to help understand how to. The goal is about how to organize a factory to make money, and the same principles are applied to project management in this book, The Critical Chain.
I will definitely read it, Erik.
Yeah, they're both fantastic books. They're both very good books.
Okay.
And I would say,
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I would say read The Goal first. It's kind of a long book. He probably could have got all the messages across in half the time, but the concepts are really good concepts. And there are companies out there who are consulting companies who will come and work with you to help you set up your manufacturing line,
right,
using the principles of this book.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I would read The Goal, and then I would read this book.
I wrote the question, and that's a very important question now. What are the top reasons? I want you to give me 2 that project failed.
Well, I think the first one is not everybody on the team understands what they're delivering, what the final goal is. So we talked previously about when you're hiring somebody and they don't really know what they're working on, what the real goal is, there's a good chance they'll fail. Well, it's the same thing. If everyone doesn't really understand what their business is and what their product is and what the pain of the customer is, that's everything starts there. They really need to understand that. So then it helps them make their decisions on their own every day. There's so many decisions you make during a day, and if they know their ultimate goal, they're always then making decisions with that in mind. And I think that so I think that's number one.
So hiring wrong people. That's what I heard. Am I right?
No, not hiring the right people.
Wrong.
It's ensuring that whoever you did hire knows the final goal, what knows the mission, who is our customer, what is their pain, what's our solution, what's our product that's going to solve their pain, and how is it solving it. So I think that's number one. What really are we doing? What's really the most important thing? What are we delivering to our customer and why? That's number one. Because then, if you look back at that project we worked on together, I remember we were trying to make hot air and hot water in the recreational vehicle. But we also needed to know what's more important, the hot air or the hot water. And if it's hot water, does it have to heat up the water, 3 liters of water in 10 minutes? Or is 4 hours good enough? I remember that was one thing we tried to figure out.
That's right.
If you don't know if it's 4 hours, then you do a different design. If you know it has to be 5 minutes, you're going to do something different. You're going to make a different decision during the day. So that's why it's so important everybody really understands the mission.
To comprehend the requirements, know exactly the functions. Okay, that's good.
So I would say that's number one. The second thing is discipline to how you're going to work. There's many different ways you can work. Many different, as you point out, project management methodologies. There's different ways to write reports. There's different ways to every activity you do. There's many ways you can do it, and there's some ways that are definitely better than others, and some ways are terrible, and you should never do it that way. But I think if you have something that's pretty good, the most important thing is that you all decide together, this is how we're going to do it. This is the words we're going to use. And then everyone has the discipline to do that. So I'll give you, some examples. Most companies that develop products, hard products, they have something they call the conceptual design, and then they'll have a detailed design, and then they'll test that in the field maybe, and then they'll have a production design, and then they have a very specific process. And every company, their process is slightly different, and neither one is better or worse than the other. They're all about the same.
Yeah.
But the problem comes when not everyone is understanding it properly, because when you call something conceptual design, you have to really decide and define, what do we mean by conceptual design? Does conceptual design mean it does all the functions a customer wants?
They call it potato.
Yeah. But it can be big, it can be expensive, we don't have to paint it. Is that a conceptual design? And everybody has to have the same agreement and then use the same words, because a lot of times I hear people, they're speaking different languages.
That's true.
You have a technical product. Is it a prototype or is it a test rig? There's different names. None of them is better than the other, but you have to pick one and use it. If you have if you have a factory and half the people are speaking Farsi and half are speaking English, it's not going to go very well.
No,
you have to pick one language. Everyone has to be speaking one language. And so essentially that's what you're saying. When you're selecting the words that your team are going to use, that's very important, because different companies use different terms for the same thing. And you need to make sure. So I think that's the second problem, is that that's very important, is whatever work process you decide on, to understand the customer, to develop a product or service, and to go and sell it to customers, and to produce it, and then to analyze your financials, whatever, all those parts of being a business, you have to decide how you're going to do it. And then everyone has to do it the same, use the same language, the same templates, the same work practices. Everyone has to do it the same way. That doesn't mean it has to stay the same forever. If somebody in the day-to-day course of doing their business says, you know what, I think I have a better way. I have a better way to do it. Or we should call it this. We should do it slightly differently. Well, then bring it up. Explain it. And if it's truly a better way, well, then the company should adopt that. Everyone should adopt it's continual improvement, continually getting better every day, every week, getting a little bit better than you were yesterday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I think that's the second, really important thing to, you do the same, everyone working the same, using the same terminology, and continuing to use it, but also keep getting it better.
That's great. Erik, we are reaching 1 hour.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to add here that you think is valuable to us and I haven't asked yet from you? I'm also going to look at my notes.
I think that's probably I think we probably hit some of the most important things.
That's true.
I think, maybe I'll just say there's a couple of tools you can find online that are super important. The first one was we talked about really understanding the customer's pains and what product you can. There's something called a value proposition canvas. And if you go to YouTube and just put in value proposition canvas, you will find a short video. It's only a few minutes long, and that's a really good place to start. If you just Google value proposition canvas, you will also find all kinds of resources, lots of people talking about explaining it. But that little 3 or 4 minute YouTube video, probably to start with, is super good. And I can send you the link to the one I'm meaning, just so you can include that link.
I just Googled value proposition canvas and then I can
go to how about if you go to YouTube? Oh, that's the one. Yeah, that one right there. I think that's the one people can. Is it start?
I dare you to let me build you a completely.
Well, it's an ad now.
Free e-commerce store.
Sorry, I don't have ads. I have this one. Yeah, start there.
Every day, companies design products and services to improve their customers' lives.
So I think that's number one. And the same company, Strategizer, it's a company, they also created one called a business model canvas. Okay. And they probably have lots of videos on that as well. I usually actually tell people to go to the Wikipedia.
Hello and
page.
Welcome.
Yeah, I know this video too. This EPM I know this video's been on there for years. Yeah, 7 years. Yeah, that sounds about right. So this is a good one too. I usually tell people to start with going to the Wikipedia page for business model canvas. I think it does a pretty good job of explaining the business model canvas. But what's so good about these two things is on one page, you can scope out your business. There's no need to really start by writing a 50-page business plan. You need to understand that one-page template of a business model canvas and the value proposition canvas, which really is part of the business model canvas, but it's good to do it separately. I think here you have two pieces of paper that you really want to understand and dial those in. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So I think this Wikipedia page does a pretty good job of explaining the canvas and how to use it.
Okay, of course. And that's a template they already have, and they can use it. Perfect.
So then again, there's probably, if you want more resources, I think the book that you talked about, the Scrum, how to get twice as much done in half the time. It's an excellent book. And the other book, which I don't know if I gave you, did I give you because this is one I've given to so many people, so many companies, was
not me, Erik.
Was the other book was The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Do you know that book?
I remember that book. Yeah.
5 Dysfunctions of a Team and Scrum. I've probably given away 200 of each of those, a lot of those books. Everybody who's
yours.
Been on my teams over the years.
But my edition is quite simple. It doesn't have all these words, just a Scrum. It's the 10th anniversary edition. Oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not this one, but it's the same one, right?
Same one, yeah. Well, this is a special edition. That's how they call it. This is a special edition. Okay. So, yeah, awesome.
But yeah,
Erik,
those are good books.
These are good books, of course. Yeah, it's always nice to, gain new skills, read new books, especially in it's very interesting, like how it's being developed. Like a lot of people, they think the whole project management is stopped, and this is something we've been doing for hundreds of years, and there's nothing new to it. But that's something as abstract as project management. It's always new ideas coming in, new tools, and that's interesting.
And every industry is a little bit different. Like if you're building an apartment building, it's not, they have special tools and things that work really well for them, which are different if you're, organizing and running have a project in a cleaning business where you go to offices and clean.
That's right.
And that's different again to doing product engineering, product development. Yeah.
Awesome. Erik, were you able to buy any World Cup tickets? Did you sign?
Yes, we do have some. Yes,
we have tickets.
Got some. Yeah, my a niece got a whole bunch of them somehow. I'm not sure how she was able to get access to like 12 tickets. So we got some. We don't know. I don't know which games. The games aren't even decided. I don't think yet.
They give you the number of games. Yeah. But the thing is, she's so lucky because myself, a lot of friends, we signed up, we waited in the queue to just get into that, but no luck. But good on her.
It's like my daughter, three Taylor Swift concerts, and she didn't in the lottery. She couldn't get a ticket to one of them.
Oh,
she was awesome. So disappointed.
If you guys want someone to tag along, I'm available.
Yeah, well, okay. I'll remember that. So we bought 4 tickets from her, and they're expensive. They're in the upper part. And they're I think $480 each.
The whole is kind of different.
More than when we went to Barcelona years ago now, I think 2017. We went and saw in Barcelona, and we saw that was when Messi and Neymar, Suarez were all playing for Barcelona. We saw, and they were less expensive.
Of course. I watched France and Croatia in Paris almost 8 months ago, and you know how much I paid? I paid, and my seat was pretty good. The penalty kicks was right in front of my eyes. I paid almost €100 for each ticket, and that's crazy. And Messi came to Vancouver for Miami. I wanted to take my son. That was that crazy expensive.
I know, crazy
expensive. North America and Europe, they have 2 different standards when it comes to.
Yeah, because we went to a game once also in Berlin at the Olympic Stadium, which is such a cool stadium. The Berlin team playing Borussia Dortmund, and it was really cheap. We had fantastic tickets. We had in the middle, quite low down. In fact, they were great tickets, and they were, I can't remember, but they were really reasonable, really reasonable. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed connecting with you again. I really enjoyed talking about the whole thing I have. I hope you come again.
Okay,
New topics. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
چنته هر کسی که تو خالی باشد بالاخره معلوم میشه.